Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL for 5% off your order. We're also sponsored by Quiver Time, makers of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine card-holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their site for 10% off your purchase. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them for all your deck list needs. Now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Architect, and Quiver Time. It's also brought to you by the patrons like yourself at patreon.com/ShivamB. EK told me to promote myself more, so I'm starting to do that. But today I have a very, very special guest, somebody I'm trying to get on my show for like
it's been a while.
Years,
a few years at this point.
Literal years.
Yeah.
My dear friend who I've run into at so many cons and just hung out and eaten pizza with in my own hometown.
And saw me struggle really badly with getting coffee one time. It's cool.
Oh my God. Like the literal greatest fail of garbage cardboard coffee of all time.
That was the most
Humphreys.
disappointed you probably will ever see me in my life.
It was like a $16 glass of like.
And they just hand me a cup and they're like, yeah, it's that machine over there. Just
it's like, you know, the leftovers from a church like yard sale in like a carafe, just like squeeze the thing out. Even McDonald's has better coffee.
I would have gladly traded that for some McDonald's.
Like you looked like one of those stereotypical 1980s truckers just looking at like garbage ass diner coffee going like, what is my life?
What is this? And I spent like $16.
Yeah, it was so much money. It was like the last day of Vegas. It was just like,
yeah,
it was a cavalcade of hilarity, man. Yep. You and me trying to hang out during Vegas.
We tried to hang out
like 3 different times. It was so
I
funny.
think you and I hung out one-on-one for a total of maybe 5 minutes. Because then someone came over and said hi, and then someone else came over, and then we just had like a group of like 15 people.
Right. Or you remember when we tried to actually play a game in the middle of the hall?
Yeah, we didn't even finish that one.
No, it was you, me, Ashlyn, and Tappy, and it's like, oh, every 3 seconds somebody recognizes one of us, and then it's just over. And I'm like, why are we doing this here? Why are we pretending?
Yeah, why did we even pretend that this would happen?
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't like intimate with all of my friends, Light Humphreys here, former marketing manager at WoTC, now senior marketing manager over at Universes, the other card game that does like cool crossover anime things. And just a really great guy I've gotten to know over the years. And like
you too. Uno reverse.
Please, I cry. I play one on TV. But yeah, like Light was you came in right during pandemic, right? Like right
I did
before or something?
Yeah, I came in a few weeks after. So I was working at Warner Brothers Games beforehand. I was doing Mortal Kombat and Back 4 Blood are kind of the two main ones I did. I also technically worked on Suicide Squad, which still hasn't come out. So,
well, but the movie tie-in is like a couple of years late, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll get there. So I worked there, and then I think like 5 months or so into pandemic is when I moved over to Wizards. So it was quite a bit into the pandemic.
Can
we
talk about that for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, how do you like when lockdown was a weird time for all of us, let's be real. But like I was at my job and it was fine, and then they extended us for a year and let us all go. Trying to find a new job during that time is like nightmare hell, especially I'm in the same industry. I'm in the entertainment business. Nobody was hiring. How did you move from one video game to like Magic?
Yeah, so I really wanted to move up to Seattle, and so I was mostly looking for things that were in Seattle. I've always wanted to live up here. I love Washington, so I was looking for jobs up here, and there was a few different options. There was Wizards of the Coast, there was Amazon, there was Xbox, Microsoft, things like that. So Nintendo, a bunch of different stuff. So I wasn't super picky. I just kind of applied for everybody. And this was actually probably one of the weirdest jobs I've ever gotten, because it was and still to this day the only job I ever just applied for knowing no one at it and ended up getting the job. Like I didn't even know that was still possible
That
in
doesn't happen in our
2021
industry.
at the time, or 2022. Like I had no idea that that was even possible at the time. I just
Yeah,
applied
like
for it. Yeah.
no, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, there's nothing super crazy to it. Like, it's not like I knew anybody on the inside
No, but
or
that is
anything like
super
that. Like,
crazy though.
that's crazy, right? Like, it's insane
Like
that I just
I'm
literally applied
completely
for it.
baffled. That
Yeah,
doesn't happen. Like
no,
I no,
every
that
job
doesn't
I've
happen.
gotten before and since, it's been like I probably knowing somebody in the company and like getting some recommendations and stuff. Like the last 10 jobs have probably been just like people I know are like, hey, I want to work with light and stuff like that. But this is the first one that I worked on that
Just
I
shot in the
just
dark.
applied. I just shot my shot and I got it, and I was like, oh, okay. Crazy. And I got it not that long after I applied too. Like I think I applied and heard from them the very next day, and I think I had the job like 2 weeks later. I
That's
just ran through a
wild.
gauntlet of, I genuinely think it was like 11 or 12 interviews. I just ran through a gauntlet of that many interviews in like
Early in
3 days.
pandemic, I had a job interview at WoTC for like a project manager in Studio X or something like that, to be like in charge of running the creative like teams, manage not running them, but like doing their management stuff. And they're like,
Yeah.
I had a gauntlet. I think I went through interviews with like 8 people over
Yeah.
like 2 days or something, just hours and hours of grilling. And then they were like, yeah, well, we think we're going to be going back to the office soon, so we wanted somebody more local. And I'm
You made me
like,
go through all of that.
10 months later, it's like, you're not back at the office yet, bud. We're
Nope.
maybe never coming back to the office. Let's,
Yeah, they
um,
barely went back to the office even during my entire time there. I mean, we did technically go back to the office, but like we
yeah,
had
like,
two offices and one of them barely had anybody, like maybe a max of like 20 people per day kind of thing.
so like, yeah, you're almost your entire tenure there was like
Mhm.
remote-ish, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, it was
That's
fully
wild to
remote
have a
for,
job.
yeah, it was fully remote for about 6 months or so. Basically, I was just waiting out when my lease was over down in Southern California.
Sure.
And then once that was over, I moved up to Washington. But even then, we only were quote unquote required to come in 2 days a week. And that
Mm.
requirement went away real quick because nobody ever came in. So it was like, I still came in usually 2 times a week, but it was never required. It was just nice to have an excuse to like get dressed and like go see
And
people and
see
get a
who your
change of
boss
scenery.
is.
Yeah. And, it's, I mean, it is, I do enjoy remote work a lot more than I did, but I do still really value the like getting to like see coworkers and getting to know them more beyond like just the
Yeah.
face to face. Like I know
I
some
think
people don't
hybrid's the
like it,
way to
but I love
go,
it.
honestly.
Yeah, I think hybrid's the superior way of doing it, to be honest. Like, I don't even know if you need to go in weekly, but just like having a regular cadence of being able to go and see people, I
Yeah.
think is really nice. So that's what we ended up doing for the next like year and a half that I worked there.
Yeah, because like in my radar, so unsurprisingly, I know a lot of people at Wizards, and I know a lot of people, especially in the
Really?
customer facing sides. And like, a new face showing up in the marketing group or in the PR group or in something like that is somebody that I, as a content creator slash I as a Shivam, just have to know. And you just showed up out of nowhere, and I'm like, wow, this is a person I literally have no contact with and no understanding. You just like,
I
you
just
know,
showed up.
yeah, you apparated, you teleported
Yeah.
in. You're like, "Hi guys, I'm the new marketing manager." I'm like, "Well, I guess
Oh,
hi.
okay.
I guess I need
Gotta
to know
follow
you
this
now."
guy. Hope he's not a jerk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
I had gotten my Twitter probably like 6 months before I started working at Wizards. It was like right around. It was right around when Mortal Kombat and Back for Blood were coming out. I wanted to just kind of help see what was going on in socials and kind of see where people are at. So I was really well versed in Mortal Kombat, but I was not at all really well versed in Left 4 Dead. So I wanted to
Mm.
like, especially
See
if
what the
we,
community
talk
was,
more
and
about Magic, is I deep dive into the communities and try to get to know everybody as much as possible. So I followed and absorbed everything I possibly could for Left 4 Dead and Mortal Kombat. But like I said, I really needed to do it for Left 4 Dead. So that's why I got a Twitter, was basically just to like fully absorb the remnants of
were
the
you
Left 4 Dead
familiar with
community.
Magic before?
Yeah, I played my first set that I played was original Kamigawa.
Mm.
The first set that I bought was original Ravnica, but yeah, so I've been around for 20-ish years, a little bit, so
God,
which
sometimes
is
I forget how long ago those were.
I know they've been a while. I mean,
It's been a
Ravnica
long
was like
time.
what 18 years ago or something
Jesus
crazy like
Christ.
that. Yeah. Probably more than that. But yeah, it's
God.
20 plus years. I played for a few years where I just played like super kitchen tabletop where, my friends had magic cards and I just played with theirs and stuff. But I didn't actually start buying stuff until original Ravnica came out, and Niv Mizzet was my first rare. Part of the reason why I love that guy.
I mean, Nick Visit plus curiosity has never let a man down, right? Like
Nope.
it just works.
One of the
Like,
first combos I ever learned.
hey, what if I just win
Yeah.
and draw my deck?
Oh, and I draw my deck? This sounds great. Why do not more people do this? So many cards and you win.
Yeah, it's a allure of the blue mage, and I'm just sitting here like,
Yeah.
must be nice, buddy, drawing one card a turn. It's like,
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Plebes. Just one
oh,
card per turn. Jeez. How do you
so
do this?
dude, look, us in the red white life is a very slow and stately life. We win eventually.
Do you remember back in the day, like 5 years ago, when white just couldn't draw cards? I mean, now people are spoiled with smothering tithes
Oh
and
yeah,
and
like
land
everything.
taxes, and they have everything. But like, remember back in the day when
Oh
when
yeah,
you
when
just
like
couldn't get mana or draw cards?
no, we could prevent damage.
Yeah, and you could
Look,
gain life.
right, and we could tell you
You're
not
real
to
good
do
at those.
things.
Yeah, until people know, which people hated.
Oh yeah, here, let me just destroy your land so you can't do anything either. Now we're none of us is having fun.
Yep, none of us are
uh,
playing.
yeah, like that seems like a great way to do things. I'm glad that they've changed it around a bit, but now it's like, okay, we can calm down. It's okay.
Yeah.
Cards, it's fine. Let's stop. We don't need staple card draw to literally everything. Oh God! And then make them all 300 like 300 legends, and they're. Anyways.
You were about to go on a rant. I saw that.
Oh, I
I
was
saw that look in
ramping
your
up, and
eye.
I'm like, nope,
Nope,
we're not doing
not
that.
gonna do it. You were
But
gonna
yeah,
ask a
though,
question, I think, though.
I was going to ask a question, like, because when you showed up and basically you get this job in marketing,
Yeah.
so obviously you need to know like the community that you're reaching out to. What was that like jumping headfirst into Magic Twitter?
Yeah.
How do you even
Wow.
find like how do you find I guess that's a really important question as a
Yeah.
marketer. When you start
Yeah.
a game like you are now with Universes or when you were with Magic or whatever, how do you find out the people that you should be paying attention to?
It's actually funny. So Universes is probably, we can talk about the actual game and everything I'm doing for that later if you want to, but the how I learned to get like find a community actually was a lot more relevant for Universes than it was for Magic, but I kind of did the same thing because
Mm.
Magic I still knew of some people. Like I want to say I found people in Magic mostly through guest spots in Command Zone. So I mean, even if we go back further than that, I probably I do recall just typing furiously into YouTube, just like Magic the Gathering, and then just
Mm.
watching every YouTube video, and anyone who is like remotely had like a decent amount of followers. They didn't have to have a lot, but like just a decent amount of followers, I would go and see if they were on any of the social media. So I went and usually pretty much everybody is on Twitter in the Magic community. So I
Sure.
ended up on Twitter a lot of the time, but I would subscribe to them on YouTube, find their Instagram and or their Twitter, and I would basically just try to absorb everything that people would say. Of course, there was Reddit and stuff too, but
Sure.
it was a lot of YouTube and Twitter and
Well, I
watching
mean, that would be
who
more
was on.
relevant for like being a marketer and the things you because
Yeah,
like Reddit's a community, which is important for like I don't know game designers to understand how things are going. But for
right,
somebody who's trying to learn the best ways to spread information, people who are
right.
making videos or people who have big followings and talk about stuff is where you want to go,
Yeah,
right? For
for
PR
sure.
purposes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's mostly what I did was I mostly
Mm.
just like scoured the internet by, typing in Magic the Gathering and reading a bunch of press articles and stuff too, and just like also seeing if I can find anybody, like Tom Marks from IGN is somebody who I found just like
Mm,
typing in Magic the Gathering, and he does a bunch of stuff for IGN.
I
So
like
like,
him. He's a good guy.
yeah, no, he's great. It's funny because those two dots didn't connect until because I listen to IGN stuff all the time, but like I didn't realize that Tom Marks was also a huge Magic the Gathering fan until I got into Wizards. And I was like, oh, wait, I love you for like just video game stuff too. Yeah,
It's
I would just say that's how it started. And then it just kind of snowballed after that. Cause then once I
mm,
followed enough people, you kind of hit a critical mass where you
sure.
start seeing like
And
people's
you start seeing
replies and
retweets of who
retweets
they're.
and yeah, so then I would start checking those out and see like, and basically just anybody who seemed in the at all in the space. And then Magic is a much more interesting Twitter verse than it is with universes because everyone's there and everyone has opinions. um, so that was
We are
interesting
definitely.
because I
Mm,
was never like a part of the like organized play or any of the like controversies or anything. Like I said, I had just had like Twitter 6 months prior to that, so I just played
it's so
Magic. I
wild
was
to
just
me.
one of the people who had been playing Magic competitively at Friday Night Magics for 20 years, but I wasn't like somebody who went to conventions or GPs or like scoured Twitter or anything like
Mm.
that. So when I came in and it was like I had heard of that other Reddit one, the other Reddit Magic one that people that one I heard about for my first time when I started working at Wizards, and I was like, wait, what's this? And I was like, oh,
You mean the bad place?
the bad place, the Shadowlands, the ones we don't talk about.
The ones, the ones who talk about us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't even know about that subreddit until I started working at Wizards, and I was like, what is this? And then I was like, oh, okay. So I learned a lot.
Yeah. It's like,
I grew up very quickly.
the scales fall off your eyes, and suddenly it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the place we don't get. This is a memory hole. We leave that over there. Um,
Yeah.
oh God, yeah. You must have had a real quick like um, lesson in like these are the people we don't talk to or talk about or
Yeah.
deal with in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I certainly like, I grew to be pretty close to a decent amount of people internally too. So like I learned from them also like, hey, we interact with this person quite a bit. We don't really talk to this person, blah, blah, blah. So like I learned that also internally as well. So that's another way that I like kind of gathered
right.
a group of people that I would like follow and try to, keep up with and stuff. So yeah.
Because like this is one of those angles that like because people know what marketing is, people know what PR is, people know like you're like, oh, he's the guy who gives us cool swag boxes or whatever. But like
I'd love to
internally,
just be known for that.
I mean, dude, when you showed up, after you showed up was maybe the best era of Magic swag ever. Like, okay,
Yes.
I'm just gonna give you like 10 seconds of me because this is my show and I can.
Yeah.
So having been around Magic for a long time, when I started content creation like 10 years ago or something and started the slow climb up, it would be like once in a while you would get a preview card. And that's kind of it. And that was like your blessing. Maybe if you were lucky, WoTC would like tag you for the community cup, or you'd get picked up for like the LRR's pre-release or something like that, which is like still one of the greatest things I've ever gotten to do.
Yeah.
But that's kind of about as far as it got. Like they didn't really do swag. They might send out cards or something, but they're like, oh, we term integrity. We don't want to give people cards or
Mhm.
etc. And then like, I mean, once in a while there were really cool like Time Spiral sent out this neat crate with like the logo imprinted on it
I
and
remember
all this
that.
other
Yeah.
like random crap. But when you showed up, suddenly we were getting like giant glowing like posters and like sweaters and all like the Amazing Brothers wore like lamps and just all this random stuff that's like
Yeah.
so I was in the video games industry for like 10 years before I joined Real Tech and became a big boy. And in the video games world, we are used to getting like insano swag boxes from like video game companies. Like I
Oh
still
yeah,
have a
they're
Halo
amazing.
hoodie. Yeah, like I've got a Halo hoodie that I got in 2002. It's still
Yeah.
fine. But like they give you things like I mean, you can't see off camera, but I've got a whole shelf of just garbage from video games that I've gotten over the years. Magic didn't do that. And then you showed up and brought like video game sensibility to Magic, and suddenly we're like, I need to be on that list. How do I get on that list?
What is this? Yeah, yeah, the first thing that I ever worked on was the Adventures in the Forgotten Realm
Oh
influencer
my
kit.
god, I love it so
Um,
much.
I will say I can't take credit for that one. Like I did do some work on it, but I was not there like at the conception of that one. I mostly did. There was like a poem that was like the puzzle. I worked on that with Gavin, so that was actually my first time meeting Gavin too. Is working on a poem for the influencer kit to break into a influencer kit box was the
Oh, dude,
first
that
thing I
box was
ever did.
so sick. It's got like
Yeah,
locks on it and everything. It was like the
yeah.
coolest.
Yeah, so that
The
was the first thing I ever worked on was that. I worked really closely with Rachel on that one, but that was mostly a Rachel thing.
mm.
So that was the first, literally the first thing I remember. Like I was like, I want to remember this being my first email, so that like that actually had to do with working on stuff. So that was the first thing I ever worked on at Wizards was the influencer kit on AFR. Um, but yeah, the next one was Midnight Hunt, which was another one that I worked really closely with Rachel on. We kind of like tag teamed Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow quite a bit because that was still me like learning how to get into it. And that was the one with all of the apples and the fake apples and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So we worked together on that one.
that was cool.
And then one of my favorite
Rachel,
ones
by
is
the
like,
way, shout out to her. She's amazing. She's one of my fellow CAG mates. She joined the CAG and then left us to, I mean, she's still on the CAG, but then she moved to WoTC proper and then suddenly got very busy and then became a mom
yeah,
and
she's
suddenly
just a
got
little busy.
even more busy.
Yeah.
But she was one of the best legacy and vintage players I've ever seen. She's
Hmm.
cutthroat in like a way that is deeply deceptive to how she looks and acts, and is like still
Yeah.
one of the most brutal players I've ever played against. And he's
Yeah.
just
She's one
a
of the most nice and brilliant people I know in
wonderful,
my life.
kind
She's
people there
amazing.
is.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, she was like your
Um,
boss or something, right?
Not
Or
when I first got there. When I
or
first
I
got
guess
there,
level
Liz
coordinate.
Lamfera was my boss,
Mm.
and she was the director of marketing. And Rachel and I were basically we called each other Splinter Twins because we did the exact same job. And so for AFR, I mostly was just there to help support Rachel, and then for Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow, we mostly like tag teamed it, and I like slowly eased in. So I did a little bit more for Midnight Hunt, and then a little bit more for Crimson Vow, and then a little bit more for Kamigawa. And then Streets New Capenna was the first one that I did 100%. Like I took over 100%. Um,
So
yeah.
yeah, sorry. I'm just like, before we got too far away from that, like the
Mhm.
AFR box that came, like my son still plays with the stuff that came out of it. There was like a cool wand in
It
there
was a
and a
good one.
compass
And
and
that
like
box is
all this.
still, I think, one of the coolest, genuinely
The
one of the coolest things
physical
Wizards
box
has
is like
ever
one
like
of my
sent
favorite.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I love
really
that
cool
thing.
wooden box.
That and the Baldur's Gate one, or like my playmat is a Baldur's Gate Boo
Oh, that
leather
leather
stamp.
playmat.
Oh my god,
Oh,
it's the
I
best
love
playmat I've
it.
ever gotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, it's so random because like you I remember like the Kamigawa stuff that came out. First off, the marketing rollout for Kamigawa is the high watermark for marketing rollouts that
Oh,
Wizards
yeah.
has
It's
ever
a high
done.
watermark for, I think, honestly, pretty much
Any
anything Wizards has ever done.
anything. Yeah, it is maybe the the best we've ever gotten in terms of just like sheer like okay, there are two things. One was when Dominaria came out, the original one 5 years ago,
Yeah. With
when they did
Richard
the full
Garfield.
story rollout and with
Yeah.
Ethan and Kelly Diggs doing the whole thing in the globe and all, that was insane. But the Kamigawa one, the anime friggin'
Yeah.
video, the soundtrack that Jonathan did, the boxes, the whole just the way that you guys rolled it out, and it is just from an industry insider standpoint, is amazing to me that you managed to get any of that,
Yeah. That
let
one
alone
was
all of that.
so much fun. Like when it's still one of my favorite things I ever worked on. And like Rachel was
Easy.
technically the lead on that one, but there were a few big projects that I led there. One of them was the soundtrack for with
God, it's
Jonathan.
so good.
I worked really closely on the trailers and the teasers and the anime trailer. Um, but yeah, so like I remember my first time meeting Jonathan was actually at a Command Zone party. It was only like 3 or 4 weeks into when I was working at Wizards.
And you're already
It
getting
was
invited to Command Zone parties?
well, because
Man, I've
yeah,
known those
so
guys for like 15 years and they haven't invited me to crap.
no, it's I think so. I was working on the announcement day of 2022. So it
Mm,
was the day when we announced the full year of 2023. So it was when we announced Kamigawa and Lord of the Rings and all of that stuff. And we were working with Becca and Joe Johnson. Were
mm.
in that one, and Joe and I mean, and Becca, but all three of us really, really hit it off. And so I just kind of went and hung out with Joe for the next rest of the weekend because we just got along really, really well. And he's still
He
one
is
of
a
my favorite
lovely
people.
guy. He's a
Yeah,
lovely
he's one
guy.
of the very few people who made it to my 30th birthday because he was the only one in LA. One of the few people in LA who also felt comfortable going to a random party during COVID because we were like, hey, it's everyone has their vaccines and stuff, but we want to keep it like a small group, and so I'm not sure who's going to show up, and we're all going to like play games, so you kind of have to be okay with it just being like random people who are all vaccinated. And so he showed up and it was awesome. So did Lua. And it was just a lot of fun, and we hit it off really well. So anyway, he invited me to a Command Zone party over at their previous recording studio, probably like a month or so into me working at Wizards. And that's where I met Jonathan. And also where I met like all of the Command Zone people
Right.
and a bunch of
Jimmy and
different
Josh.
people. Yeah, I met
Yeah.
Jimmy, Josh. I think that was where I met Ashlyn and Lady for the first time.
Mm.
Murph, Josh, but everybody.
They're all very good people.
Um, yeah, and Jonathan, from like pretty much the moment he found out that I worked at Wizards, was like, okay, I really want to do a soundtrack for Wizards. Okay. And I was like, look, I would love to do it. We just have to find the right time, because I mean, like Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt were already like well into production. But then as we were building out the marketing plan for Kamigawa, we landed on this feeling like a very musical set, like the cyberpunk vibe really jived
Yeah.
with music. And so one of the first ideas actually was I wanted to do a full soundtrack where we worked with Lights and Edit from the Glitch Mob. And that's actually how I became friends with them, was because we reached out to them first to do a full soundtrack. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But so we ended up working with Jonathan to basically produce the whole soundtrack. And
That edit.
yeah,
I know that edit. Oh my God. I love that dude.
yeah, Edit from the Glitch Mob. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Glitch
Okay.
Mob and Lights are like my two favorite bands, and they also fit really well into the vibe of Kamigawa. So I really wanted to work with them. We ended up giving them promo cards instead. Lights had, well, originally she had Light Paws because I thought that would be funny, but Light Paws ended up getting leaked, so we had to give her Mirror Box instead. And then Edit, I actually don't remember which one Edit got, but Edit also had a preview card. I think it
Yeah.
was one of the legendary swords or something.
Edit's first two albums were like just certified bangers for me. I
Oh yeah.
discovered them when I lived in Japan, so I was just like, "Oh my God, I love this so much."
Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
sorry. I was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my
So,
God, I know it. I love Edit. Holy shit."
yeah,
Anyway,
so that's how I ended up becoming like friends with them. Like I'm really good friends with Lights now, but
isn't that where you got
she
your name from?
that is actually where I got my name from, was Lights. That's actually part of the reason how we bonded, was we were talking to her about, doing the preview card and stuff. And then I was like, also, I have kind of a thing to admit to you that I didn't ever think would come to pass, but I changed my legal name to Light because I was looking to kind of like manifest like positivity and energy into the world. And I really liked your name, and I also really liked your music. So I changed my name to Light, inspired by you. And anyway, we were then friends after that. Not many people get to tell that to the people that you like change your name
No,
for. So
that's fair as hell,
um,
man.
yeah. So yeah. Anyway, we worked with Jonathan on that, and then he worked with a bunch of different people on the album. Like I still have some of those songs stuck in my head that I
Oh, they're
play
so
on like
good,
a
man.
weekly basis. But like
Kamigawa. Yeah.
Tascate is still
Oh God.
one of my favorite songs. It was on my 2023 like top 50 most played songs.
It's so
um
it's so God. The fact that Magic the Gathering put out a goddamn album, an
right.
actual album of music, and I was like, okay, so here's the secret. I'm
Yeah.
synesthetic. That means
Yeah.
when I see things like certain colors and stuff, I can hear them because of the way that my brains are wired. And so like the lands in Kamigawa are some of the most musical lands of any kind of like, or like the cards and the way that the cards are set up. There's one
Yeah.
forest where there's like a monk sitting underneath a tree in a cyber city or whatever. That one just like sings to me when I see that land. And so like
Beautiful.
when we got this like soundtrack to go with it and you're overlaying over it, it's just like it's like having a rave in my head the whole time. Like this is the greatest
That's
chill out like
amazing.
Magic
I
the Gathering
love
I've ever
that.
had.
Yeah, that
So
was yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, like one of my favorite memories honestly is us drafting Kamigawa and listening to the soundtrack while
yeah,
we were drafting it.
you know that
It was so cool.
Jonathan gave me one of his unused songs to use as the intro for my other
Oh, I
podcast.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
Shiva
was a
was
few things left on the cutting board just because it was like, if it's not obvious, making music is really hard. And
yeah.
and that was something that we learned very quickly because we didn't have a lot of time to put it together.
How did you
It was
sell
a
it to
lot.
your bosses?
How did we sell it to the bosses?
Like, actually, I want to know that whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
how do you go to the money people at Hasbro and WoTC and say like, "Hey, we want to do it. Get a Japanese company to make an anime like trailer for this, and then we want to pay a dude in SoCal to make a full soundtrack with techno music and stuff, and then
Yeah.
we want to do like, and then the sickest cyberpunk sweater and all this. Like, how? How?
I will say Kamigawa was actually probably the easiest one to get things through because
So
Wizards didn't actually have a lot of believe it
they
or
had no
not,
faith in
Wizards
that
didn't actually
product.
have a lot of faith in the product. I knew it was a banger from the moment I heard the concept, but I could understand why people would be because I know that anime and cyberpunk, like that's the zeitgeist right now. Like
Yeah.
you put anime anything, Eldraine, Kamigawa, anything, you put anime in it and it will sell. But the higher ups hadn't seen any of that data yet. And so they're like, I don't know. We've never done anime before. And I'm like, you should do more.
It was a full series, 26
Yeah, maybe
episodes in
just
the
make it a
movie.
whole series and like, just lean super hard into it. But yeah, they didn't have a lot of faith in it. So they actually gave us a lot more free reign to do a lot more crazier things to like get a bigger audience because they were very concerned that the enfranchised audience of Magic would not be as into it. So
It's so funny because
they
Kamigawa
thought
ended
we'd
up
have
being
to
like
acquire more people to
it's
be interested.
wild. It's
Yeah.
wild because Kamigawa ended up being one of the best sets of all time.
Well, it's probably because one, the core audience, as I knew, would like it, and then two, the we spent a lot of time going to outside audiences. I mean, I don't. I mean, unless you want to, I won't go into the nitty gritty of marketing, but like, you don't want to always go after
Oh
the
no, I want
same
to hear it, man.
franchise audience over and over and over again. Magic does that a lot. A lot of card games do that a lot. And that's kind of an issue. And Kamigawa, what was great about that one was it was kind of the first time we ever had a chance to move out of the enfranchised audience. We got to do Hatsune Miku. We got to do a soundtrack. We got to do an anime with Wit Studios who made Attack on Titan. Like we got to do a lot of things that we've never been able to do before because they were concerned the core audience wouldn't like it. So we could go acquire more people. But, you just look at most sets before and after that and they haven't had that much opportunity to do that. It's always been very much core focused.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's the best selling set of all time was because they actually gave us some breathing room in marketing to like actually do cool stuff. Who would
I
have
mean,
thought?
it also, I mean, it helps that the set itself was also hella fun.
It also helps that the set itself was absolutely amazing. I mean, like that was a perfect mesh
Yeah.
of game design and marketing working really well together. There's definitely times where marketing is banging and the product's not great, and then there's other times where the product's great and marketing's not banging, and those can have mixed results. But Kamigawa, just I think of all the sets I worked on at Wizards, that was the most like. It was also one that had the most attention on it when it came to the marketing team. Like me and Rachel were working really hard on that one together, as opposed to everyone after that. We were
Where it was
working
just one or
individually. It
yeah.
was we were kind of leapfrogging each other. So that was the last one that we were working together, but it was also the last one we worked on together that I had the most experience with Wizards at. if that makes sense. Like,
Sure.
I was still learning the ropes for the first 3 sets before that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Like,
Whereas
because
this
I
one, I can
think
kind of be like, hey, I have some, I have some
you
sway now.
actually
Like I can
understand now,
actually,
right?
I actually understand who to go to, how to get things done, things like that. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
selling a soundtrack.
exactly. I mean, because I
Yeah.
think about the fact that before that, the last big one we had was like Kaldheim, which got a bunch of my favorite death metal acts to come and do like
Yeah.
preview cards and everything. So like we
Yeah.
could see that there was like a ramp coming up. Strixhaven was doing really cool
So
things.
you asked how we could actually how we actually pitched that idea, and a lot of it was us taking inspiration from Kaldheim's metal week.
Mm,
We I can't remember if it was me or Rachel who pitched this, because I wrote the original marketing brief, but obviously we work so close together.
sure.
I can't figure out. I can't remember exactly who came up with this, but the original idea was that we were going to do a EDM music week
Mm,
for
Kamigawa.
Kamigawa. So
Oh,
the
that would have
same
been hot.
exact idea that we would have done for Metal Week for Kaldheim, we would have done that for Kamigawa in the December beforehand. The problem, I believe, that came out was a bunch of the set got leaked, and so we were like, well, we're not going to talk about it in December anymore because the set got leaked. So there's not going to be nearly as much excitement because people are already talking about cards. So I believe that's what happened, and we had to put that on hold, or we just canceled that idea. But the original idea was to have like a week long work with a bunch of different musicians and have a bunch of different songs and have a bunch of different previews with a bunch of different musicians. So
Well, that's a shame.
yeah, so it was a bummer that it happened, but at the same time, it's I'm really proud of how it came out. We did a lot of really, really cool things. But yeah, we used Kaldheim actually as a quite a few examples, because it was also a winter set, so
Yep.
we wanted to pull some experiences from that. And I believe that was one of Rachel's first sets that she worked on solo
Hmm.
as well. So she was very well versed in how she did Kaldheim. So we pulled a lot of influence from the musicians or the music idea, because that was a very metal set, and this was also a very musical feeling set. And
God, I would
also,
kill for Jonathan to do a Kaldheim soundtrack. That would have been so
I
good.
know, right? Yeah, and just a little too late. Yeah, and then also the teaser from the from Kaldheim, from Kaldheim, is the same studio that made the teaser for Kamigawa, which was kind of like the statue looking ones
Mm,
that we first revealed Kaito.
yeah.
So yeah, that was
God, man.
so a
Those
lot of
sets, both bangers.
inspiration
Both
from
bangers.
Kaldheim. Yeah, yeah.
God, I loved both of those sets so much. This is so much fun. You know what's wild? Like, I remember you reached out to me like right around during Kamigawa's like actual during the middle of their marketing push, because I got one
Yeah.
of the cool like boxes. I got the Kamigawa sweater, which is like the greatest hoodie I've
Yeah.
got ever. It's like so sick.
Yeah,
And
Rachel, I
like,
think, led like 100% of the influencer kit for Kamigawa. So
yeah,
you have her to thank on that one,
no, she's
except
amazing,
for the
dude.
sweater. I did the sweater. I
It's
will.
like all
I'll claim
streetwear.
that
It's
one.
so cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Like my claim to fame is it was my idea to have the Kamigawa thing down the sleeve.
Oh, it looks so sick. But yeah, because I remember we ended up meeting up in San Francisco because you were in
Yeah,
town for like a wedding or whatever, and I took you out to pizza, which I didn't realize at the
you
time is the
did.
only food you actually eat.
It's the only food I eat. Yeah.
Yeah, we went out to real fancy like California pizza right
We
on the bay. It
did.
was really
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I remember I was talking, I'm like, this set's going to be a complete killer. And you're like, yeah, nobody believes in it. I'm like, they're going to be proven wrong because this is insane.
I mean, even if you remember, even the community didn't believe in it at first, because
We
I
were
think we
very
made a
hesitant.
mistake. We made a little bit of a mistake. No one remembers it now because it's well remembered as one of the best sets of all time. But the first piece of art I believe we showed was the DJ, was the Cyber
Right.
DJ.
The
Do
DJ
you
one
remember
and
the
everybody.
controversy that came from
Yes,
that?
because I
People
was like,
lost their
what the
minds.
because I was like, what the
Um,
hell is this? What this is way
yeah.
too modern.
People
I
lost their
remember
minds
being
because it was too modern. And so sorry, I cut you off.
and
What
of
were you say?
course no, you're right, because like the next set is New Capenna, where of course it's like
Hmm.
just street clothes. But it's
Yeah.
funny because like I was one of those mega haters because I was like,
Hmm.
this is way not magic. And now
Yeah.
I'm like, Kamigawa is the way into the truth, right? Like
Yeah.
this is just
No,
so
it's
good.
true. Like no one remembers it, but like no one believed in it, not even the community. Like that
No.
was like I remember specifically being one of the minority people being like, I think the set's gonna be a banger. And I hadn't played it. So like to be fair, it could have not been a banger in this, but like the aesthetic I thought was like killer. Like I loved it. I'd seen
I
all of
would
the
not have
cards.
started with that card though.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think starting with that. So the idea behind that was because we wanted to show off something crazy. Like this is different. We are coming to a different Kamigawa. I think we may have pushed it too far. I think having that, we probably should have showed that a little bit later in the marketing, to not just like system shock everybody. But yeah, it ended up fine. But yeah, I mean that was a learning curve of just like, hey, maybe next time if we do something else crazy, we'll ease them into it, like show off some things that are kind of old Kamigawa-ish, kind of new Kamigawa-ish, and we'll
Yeah.
ease them into the
And maybe
cyber
not running
DJ.
into like the cyber DJ.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a learning. That was a
Oh my
learn.
god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Um,
um, so what did you do? Like Capenna was weird because it was such like I was so worried for you guys because after how high Kamigawa was, there was like no way Capenna was ever going to be able to live up to that,
I
no
was
matter what you
so
did.
that was actually funny enough. The opposite internally was they thought Capenna, it tested really well. So Capenna was seen as like that was the slam dunk of the year. Kamigawa was the bet. Kamigawa was the risk. Streets of New Capenna was the like surefire bet.
Is that why we had it for like 6 months? So
I actually don't
annoying.
know why, but probably yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It was around for a lot longer than
You wore out its
people were
welcome, let's say.
for. It really did. Yeah, but yeah, that was it was actually the opposite internally. Everyone was like, Streets of New Capenna is going to be fine. Like demon mobsters, like what could go wrong with that? And to be fair, I think that is also a cool idea. I think it's just Kamigawa was a lot more popular than people anticipated, and so especially with how much cool marketing stuff we were able to do for Kamigawa, and I got like scraps for Streets of New Capenna because we pulled a lot
Where's
of
my new Capenna
stuff.
anime? Come on.
I know, right? Like we pulled a lot of resources away from New Capenna to Kamigawa to make sure that Kamigawa succeeded. So then New Capenna was like, wait.
Sorry, I keep dropping my metal fidget dice and they make
all
funky
good.
noises. Anyways,
Yeah, so
telling the audience at home, apologizing. But yeah, like the thing
yeah,
is,
so
New
that
Capenna. Yeah,
it
go
was
ahead.
crazy. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah, so it was crazy coming off of Kamigawa and being like, oh, this is like we actually have to kind of follow this up without having any resources to follow it up, you know?
I mean, you
Because
got
you
Jonathan
can
to come
see
back.
we did, yeah. So that was I clawed to, like I fought. Probably part of the reasons why I left was because I died on too many hills, and that was one of them. Was I died on that hill was the soundtrack, because I was like, okay, if any set we're going to make a soundtrack, it's the Demon
The Jazz
Monster
Age,
set in
right?
the like 1920s. And so that like I fought really really hard to get that, and fortunately my boss at the time was really into jazz and stuff like that, so it wasn't a super hard sell. But I mean, you asked the question earlier, is like, how did you pitch the idea? And it's like, well, even seeing how Kamigawa's album did, and people really liked it and really enjoyed it, the problem was is like it's so hard in today's capitalistic society to be like, yeah, 1 million listens on an album tied into this many sales for a card game. Like
Right.
I have no way of proving that.
Like there's
Everyone
no
loves
call
it.
to action.
There's no call to action. Like everyone loves it. Everyone like remembers back fondly on it. But like I still to this day couldn't necessarily prove to you that the soundtracks like actually sold sets. So that's the hard part, right? Is like everyone loves them, but it's kind of hard to point to an Excel sheet and be like, look, it made money.
Well, I mean, because part of the art of marketing is not just the actual one-to-one sales click-through rate or whatever. It's
Right.
also creating the atmosphere wherein people want to buy the thing.
Right. I
Right?
mean,
Like,
I'm a very, very firm believer that like marketing is something, for me, it's you're helping someone want to live the life that they want to live, and people want to live the life of like having fun with Magic. People enjoy this game. So I want to provide them all of the opportunities to want to spend, live and breathe in this game. And so, I'm here for the soundtracks and the, animes and all of this stuff because I think it's really cool. But yeah, we actually learned a lot for the Streets of New Capenna one. It was twice as long. Because I took the criticisms for the Capenna or for the Kamigawa one that it was too meta. I would say about like half of the songs were
Yeah.
very like singing about Magic the Gathering or singing about Kamigawa, so it felt more like a corporation making an album that was like, it still
Yeah.
fit it vibe wise, but like lyrically it was kind of like,
It
yeah,
was a
is,
little
you know,
jarring, a little.
yeah, it was a little jarring because you're like, I'm listening to a song about Magic the Gathering as opposed to like it being diegetic, like in the world of Magic. So that
Right.
was one of the first notes that I had for Jonathan when we did the second one was, I want this to be something that feels like you are in New Capenna. Like this is something, so like when we built out the songs for Streets of New Capenna, I spoke to them about making sure that we had at least one song from every family, and then at least one song for Urabrask and one song for Elspeth. So that was kind of like, there was a lot of other things we talked about, but that was like some of the main things. And I was like, I also really want to make sure that each song is like specific to that family, you know, like I want you to know, like when you listen
Mm-hmm.
to the you know, this certain riff or something like that, you know, it's the Maestros. And so he landed on 5 very different and very cool musical sounding, like if you listen to each of the different songs, they have a very different feel to them because they were meant to feel like it was being sung by someone at the Riveter, you know, someone in the Riveters or someone in the Maestros.
Sure.
So you know, we landed on 5 different musical styles and he was really excited about it. But it was hard because we also wanted to have lyrical versions, and then I also asked for instrumental versions because I knew that based off of the Kamigawa feedback that we didn't want to always have, not everyone wants to listen to lyrics while they're like, you know, sitting and listening.
Vibing.
Yeah, vibing, because that was actually a lesson from the Lo-Fi Girl, which is another thing we did for Kamigawa, was people just
Yeah.
like vibing to the music. So I asked to do instrumentals for Streets of New Capenna as well. So yeah, one of my favorite
I
things, and still to this
appreciate
day,
it.
one of the things I get the most like thank yous for,
It was
which
so
is great
good,
because like I
man.
said, I died on that hill.
Your sacrifice was greatly appreciated.
Thank you, I
I
appreciate it.
mean, because like the thing is, Capeno is just so weird. Like they're 5 gangsters, but there's no law because apparently there's no cops or anything. They're lawyers, but there's no
Yeah,
like who are
yeah,
they fighting against? I mean, and there's
each
drugs, but they're
other.
not drugs.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
man, the
drinking
whole
dead
drug
angels. Like
thing.
what?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm sure you remember in the influencer kit we sent out a few different things.
I didn't get a
Um
Capeno one, but I saw it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this is like a really big controversy was the uh glitter, the edible glitter that we sent out. So we had to make the influencer kits like 6 months ahead of time, even more than that. And so when I'm sitting there figuring out how I wanted to make the influencer kits, I was like, okay, it'd be really cool if it was like, because I'm a really big fan of like building the world. And like I said, wanting to make people feel like they're living in this game. So the whole idea for that one was that people got the influencer kit and were basically being invited by one of the families to be a
Sure.
part of their family. And so we reached out to every influencer we knew we were going to send an influencer kit out to and be like, hey, what are your favorite 3 color pairs, basically? And so then we chose people based off of that on which family they would be invited into.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so each kit was specifically had, it was like 1 or 2 items that were specific to that family, and then a couple items that were like unanimous, you know, in all of them. So like we gave out like a champagne-ish flute, although, you know, it wasn't for champagne, it was for cider or something. Yeah. Champagne flute. Oh, I guess you get a thumb up there. You the Halo Dust, like a special art card that also was meant to have art from all of the like we custom made those to make it feel
Oh,
like it was
that's
something
cool.
that was custom made by one of the people in like the Riveters or the Maestros to like be
Nice.
made as their invitation. I put way too much effort into this, especially since this was right when Diana hadn't come in yet and Annie had just started. So it was just me.
Annie is
um,
also really cool, by the way.
yeah.
Annie and Diana,
Um,
I'm a big fan of.
yeah. So this was like, I put way too much effort into this for something that like arguably didn't need to take this much, didn't
No, it
need this
probably
much effort.
you probably like went way over for like
Way overboard, but it was really cool. But anyway, the Halo Dust thing was we had to make those things like 6 months ahead of time, and so, I was like, well, we have to have something Halo related that, that makes sense. And, that's like a big thing is Halo in the set. And what I didn't anticipate was when the story came out, which was right before the influencer kits came out, people were like, wait, hold on. Halo. Let me get this straight. Halo is
Halo.
dust from an angel. Is it angel dust? Because that's not great. And I'm sitting here with my influencer kits about to go out that is literal dust that I'm calling Halo, and it's edible glitter, and I'm like, oh, you have got to be kidding me. They've already been sent out, so I guess we'll just deal with that. So then there was just memes for like a few days. I mean, like, people were really stoked on the influencer kits, but there were memes some days of just like, oh wow, WoTC's just handing out angel dust now, huh? So
Also,
I was like, great.
That part of the story was really off-putting to a lot of fans too. Just like, wait,
Yeah.
what do you mean they're just grinding up and snorting angel? What the hell? What is going
They weren't
on
snorting
in this world?
it. It was like PTSD of like all these things that I was like, yeah. So yeah, that was a fun little controversy that I like. There was nothing I could do about it at that time. I'd already made the kits; they were already sent out. But I was just like,
Rip us.
If I should have saw this earlier. Like, that is definitely part of the job of a marketer, is to like anticipate problems, and no one saw it until it was out, and then everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So whoops.
So it goes. I mean, look, dude, they can't always be winners.
No.
All I know is that it was immediately followed by Baldur's Gate, which gave me my favorite playmat of all time. So I'll just take it and call it a day.
Yeah, so I worked pretty much on everything in Baldur's Gate up until once the campaign started, and then I moved over to Brothers War. So I didn't work on Baldur's Gate nearly as much as some of the others. No, I worked on Brothers War. I didn't actually work on Dominaria United. That was 100% Rachel.
That was sweet, dude.
Yeah.
I got a light that is like the land that Magali did, and it glows and it's gorgeous.
I know, isn't it cool?
Sick.
Yeah,
I love it.
Love it.
I realized, and I apologize, like an hour into this, folks, I didn't mean this to be just like, look at Shivam talk about his swag for an hour, but like, that's what Light did. So I'm
I made some swag, so it makes sense.
It's like his job to make swag, so I just talk about swag. I mean, I could talk about the fact that you and I have literally never gotten to play a game of Magic except for the one time in Vegas.
Nope.
That was only
we never
half
finished
a game. Yeah, but that's also because like you play like borderline to full on CEDH.
Oh yeah, I have my CDH Niv Mizzet deck right here.
Like your decks are definitely the opposite of the decks that I
play. Yeah, literally, you have a T-shirt that is the complete opposite of what my life is.
Yeah. Look, man, this show is called Casual Magic, right? Like it's right there. Like,
wait, I don't belong here. Yeah,
I had I had Ryan from Playing with Power on, and I was like, look, I know I say casual magic is the fun side of magic. I don't mean it. I'm just a tagline. I'm not trying to offend you right away. And he's like, it's okay.
It's okay. Like, you can be wrong.
Yeah. Dude, I just don't want to spend all day countering spells. It's just like,
no, you're good. See, I do, since my commander is literally Niv Mizzet.
Just seriously. Well, dude, the friggin' free spells from the new from Ikoria Commander, just fierce guardianship is just such a frustratingly dumb card.
Yeah.
But that being said, so yeah, when did you find Commander? Or how did you find Commander? I guess we can kind of like talk about Magic.
Talk about Magic a little bit more. So I started playing Commander probably like 2017, 2018. So like fairly like, I don't want to say late, because that's still pretty early before the like boom of Commander, but it was like right when Commander was like starting to be recognized by Wizards and stuff like that, so that's about when I started playing it. My first Commander was Niv Mizzet, but it was the original Niv Mizzet, and then I also just played a bunch of the precons for a long time. So that was my favorite way, and honestly is still my favorite way to play Magic is precons.
Honestly, same. Because like
Yeah.
the precons are all perfectly designed. They're balanced with each other. They're a
Hmm.
cool puzzle. They're a cool limited environment. It feels like it's like all the
Yeah.
best of sealed, but
Yeah.
just like without having to do the work. And it's
Without
like,
having to build the yeah,
yeah,
it's nice because they're perfectly balanced, you know, against or ideally perfectly balanced against each other. And yeah, I also just enjoy the fact that I can just pick up a random one and not know what
yeah,
it does and just kind of try to figure it out. So yeah,
exactly.
anyway, I played a bunch of different precons during that time, and then I got really into it once I started working at Wizards. So because that was basically everything what everyone played.
So, how into Commander is Wizards? Like,
Um I mean, from which axis?
like in terms of
I mean, like, yeah,
like they
what?
all basically love playing Commander, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
primarily
Rosewater, not
played
withstanding.
Commander and Draft when I worked at Wizards. So, like, every Tuesday we would have a draft night, and then every Thursday we'd have a Commander night. So, I played at least 2 games of Magic. Actually, we would also have a draft lunch during Tuesdays. So, it actually drafts twice on Tuesdays, and then I'd play Commander on Thursdays. So,
Life is hard.
yeah, I would say, yeah, I know, right? I would say, like, internally, like Commander and Draft are the ones that I played the most with people. You know, there might be some circles that I missed, but like those are the ones that the Wizards play usually for fun.
Yeah.
Is Commander and Draft.
And like how much as a marketer, how much did you pay attention to like the different audiences of Magic in terms of like were you guys trying to aim for like the casual commandery crowd or the versus the enfranchised tournament crowd? Did you guys like
Yes,
factionalize internally?
I mean it definitely
Not
tried. You
factionalize, but
know,
you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah. I mean it's funny you say factionalized because it's like that's like a Magic term, factions.
Yeah, I
But
know. That's like
um,
I said it and I'm like, no, that's not what I mean, but I
That's
mean you know what I mean.
yeah, so we were really going after the Demir and then the Is It. um, I mean, yeah, the the hard part about marketing to Magic, and I think the consumer also notices this, is um it it feels so much like everything is Wizards says not everything is for everyone, but like everyone feels like everything is for everyone. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we tried, but at the end of the day, a lot of it was just to the same people, which is again why I think Kamigawa was so successful, because it was one of the only times we were given a chance to like actually break out of that audience. Lord of the Rings is another one that we had like a chance to actually
Oh
break out
yeah.
of that audience. You know, and bring in new people. Whereas, you know,
I mean,
like
I was at a
sure,
DJ set in Vegas where Elijah Wood was spinning records.
I know, right? Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. So,
spinning records specifically for me, mind you, like good old
yeah,
80s jams. Anyways,
yeah. So it's like, yes, we are trying to, hit different audiences and not try to frustrate or make people feel like there's just too much product for them. But at the end of the day, like I think that's a big problem that Wizards is still figuring out, is like uh, how do you make it feel like, how do you get people not to have product fatigue? Like it's actually kind of gotten to the point now that it just feels like everyone's kind of just, they accept it, which I don't think is an ideal
yeah,
situation, but
no.
everyone just kind of accepts that it's like, I am just going to ignore some of these sets and I'll just come in when I feel like it, which I don't think is ideal for Wizards. But that is, I mean, that's a problem that they still need to figure out, is how to, go after the commander players and the pioneer players and the draft players and the standard players while not making it feel like everyone needs to see everything.
Well, because here's the thing, right? Like, to use an analogy, it's like sometimes when you're eating, you want to taste different flavors in your mouth, and you're like, "Oh, look,
Right.
this is like a delicious flavor. This is spicy. This is sweet. This is whatever."
Hmm.
And then sometimes you have a funnel in your mouth, and someone's just pouring food straight in, past your tongue entirely, and just going straight down
Yep.
your throat, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, I can't taste anything, and it's just now generic pablum that's just coming in." And at some point, I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well, I am nutritionally sated, so whatever that is, you can hold on to that
You
hose
can
till
you
I
can keep
need
the
food
rest.
again."
Yeah. Yeah,
And it's
until
like,
I need
well,
food again. And some people don't come back. Some people don't
yeah.
need food anymore, you
Like, do
know?
you want people to savor your game or do you want them to just be like back of the trough and shoveling it in? And it's
Yeah,
like,
I
well,
think yeah, I completely agree. And
like I post
I mean
cards
that's
every day.
yeah.
And every time there's somebody who's like, when did this card come out? And I'm like, 3 weeks ago. And they're like, what? I own every card in that set. I'm like, well, This was
Well,
released in the
it's
set
in there.
booster in Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you're literally holding it and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because they've almost looped back on themselves where it was like back in the day, Commander was really exciting because you didn't know what
You had no
cards
idea what
people
was
would
happening.
play, like it was a Wild West. And then there was, where everybody kind of like figured out and, it was like the top 20, everyone did the top 20 commanders basically. And now they've kind of looped back around where there's so many
Nobody has
different
any
commanders
idea
and so
anymore.
many different cards that no one has any idea what's going on anymore. So it's kind of the same where it's like a Wild West, but um,
It's
it's,
funny though,
it's,
because like
yeah.
every time someone's like, "Oh my god, this will be so good in my Cramble Ham deck," and I'm like, "What the hell's a Cramble Ham?" And you're like, "Well, don't you know it's a partner pair that was released in the?" I'm like, "Bro, I
Yeah.
literally run the format and I have no idea what you're talking."
No, I do not know what that is.
It's so
Yeah.
funny, but like, because it's funny because we're talking about Capenna. Wheeler and I are going to be doing a panel, or hoping to do a panel in Chicago, where we
Mhm.
can sit and talk about new Capenna Commander with
Right.
Chris Mooney, because like that set came out, has infinite bangers, nobody's ever heard of it or
It
seen it.
does.
It's like,
Honestly, literally one of my favorite games I have ever played was Mooney pulled out the New Capenna Pregons. They took it to one of the Magic Cons. I think it was Vegas, maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, they took it with them, and a few of us internal people played them together at the hotel, and it was one of my favorite games I've ever played. Like those decks are really, really, really well put together, especially against each other.
yes,
Like I don't think those commander decks were nearly as well loved as they should have been.
I agree. There's just some real hot bangers in there. I've just been, because I've been digging through, because I'm building a deck right now, and it's just like, wow, what is this
Yeah.
card? Well, these cards are amazing. Where did they come from?
Yeah. I think, it's funny because in the last like month or so, I've actually seen a lot more Streets of New Capenna cards. So I think we're starting to get to that loop around where people are starting to
The nostalgia.
rediscover a set from a year ago. And they're like, wait,
Oh
I
my
didn't know
god.
this existed.
Yeah,
And they're cheaper now because it's been
there's
out
this
for a
one
year.
artifact in there where it hits and creates a token for every damage or something. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on? This
Yeah.
is so good.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, it's that set is great. You guys should go back in time and buy it and tell Mooney how good it is.
It's a
Um,
really good set.
Actually, God, remember that first Vegas back after between normal COVID
I
and
do.
Omicron? Like, I
Yeah.
think that's where we
Magic
actually like
30.
met. Yeah.
That was when
Oh,
yeah, I think that's when I first met 90% of the people that I met
yeah. God, that
in
was such a good
person.
time.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
it was a great time. I was on the panel there I was on my first and only panel there for Brothers War. That's where we showcased the trailer.
Yeah. Ah, good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, that
Um,
was really fun because that was right after 30th anniversary was announced.
oh, I
Yeah.
meant the Vegas before that.
Yeah, so
The
Magic 30 was
the
Magic
the one
30.
that Channel Fireball did that was not a con, but it was a
Oh,
sort of
that
con.
one. Oh,
Yeah.
right. That was also at Vegas. I totally forgot that
Yeah,
that
it
was
was like
there.
the Vegas between COVID and Omicron, when we all thought we were out of the woods and we weren't.
When we thought we were good. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
totally forgot about that one. Yeah,
that
that's
was
the one I
so
met
good.
you at. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hella fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, Magic 30, that sure happened. Um,
That happened.
that certainly that must have been really weird internally when people were just like, "I beg your pardon," in
Yeah.
less nice terms.
Yeah, I won't speak
You
too
know,
ill of the dead, but
we
I will say owning the set Brothers War and trying to get people hyped about Brothers War and having that set come out during Magic 30 and all of that stuff really didn't feel good.
it's funny. It made your job a
Yeah,
little bit more challenging than it needed to be.
it made my job a lot more challenging than I was expecting, and I was like, "Oh, all right."
And Brothers War was
Um,
awesome. It was so
yeah.
cool.
I mean, it sucks because it's like, do I think it was the best set that I worked on while I was there? I don't think
Mm,
so, but I do think that set was better than people gave it chance for because a lot of people were burned during Magic 30th anniversary time.
yeah.
So like I don't think that set got nearly the amount of love it probably would have otherwise.
Yeah, because that
Um,
bonus sheet was amazing. All the old
that bonus
artifacts
sheet
coming
that was
back.
the first time we had serialized cards,
Yeah,
and it had awesome bonus sheets, like I loved the treatment with all of those artifacts and stuff, and it had some
exactly.
really cool stuff on it. I thought the draft environment, I personally really liked the draft environment.
I thought it was really, really cool. The power centers
Yeah.
were really sick.
Yeah, so
Ah,
I
man.
like I just don't think that set got nearly the love it deserved because of the timing of it. So it was
Yeah.
unfortunate. That was
You
fun.
know, look, something was going to have to suffer for the sins of that
Yeah. I'm
other
glad it
product.
wasn't Phyrexia or March of the Machine because that would have made me super sad.
Dude, I was really angry with the story at that time, but those sets were great
Yeah.
for just
Yeah.
set wise. But
Yeah.
like my son opened up a Junji Ito step and complete foil
Oh, one of
Elishnorn.
the 12 different Elishnorns.
17. Thank you very much.
17, sorry, excuse me.
Or maybe 14. I don't know. There was some dumb amount. There are too many Elishnorns. I'm just
There
saying.
are.
There's
Look,
like,
as a person
discovered
who
the top
literally has
limit.
collected every Elishnorn, there are too many Elishnorns.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we've discovered the top end for how many treatments a card can get, and now we can come back down to human
now we
times,
can
right?
come back down. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
So then,
all the alt frames, but that's too much.
I mean, I loved Phyrexia and March and the Machine, but it was
March
there
was
were
so
just
much fun.
too many. Yeah. Honestly, I think March and the Machine was my favorite draft environment of any of the sets I worked on because I really loved how like almost cube it felt when you could open up all those like multiversal the legends and stuff. And those were playable in draft and stuff. So I loved it. I thought it was really fun to just like, oh, you have an Elesh Norn, 2 Elesh Norns now, 2 different Elesh Norns. Sure, okay. You have OG Vorinclex for some reason. Sure, I'll have to deal with that now.
Oh, it was a card in.
Yeah.
OG Vorinclex makes me real. The original Praetors suck, and I hate them.
Yeah.
Except for old Sheoldred and old Urabrask are like the only ones that are like sort of fair. The other ones can find themselves somewhere else to be.
Yeah.
Because
So
if I said what I wanted to say, this wouldn't be a family show anymore.
Yeah, so that was I was really happy with those because I led those sets as well. I led those marketing campaigns for Phyrexia and March and the Machine and Aftermath.
Aftermath.
It's okay.
I think the idea was good. The execution was less good.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't pay off the story is really where my biggest gripe is. I'm like, dude, if you're going to call something Aftermath, give me the Aftermath. Don't just give me one story and then a handful of here's cards we also designed that need to go somewhere. Like that's come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was one of the harder ones that I had to figure out how to get people excited, especially since it was really sandwiched in between March and the Machine and then right after it was Lord of the Rings. So
which is
also like how the heck do I get people excited about this 50 card set with March and the Machine 3 weeks earlier and then Lord of the Rings like 3 weeks later.
March and the Machine was also rad. It was really good. It was really fun. Battles are there and everything. And then Aftermath, okay, like Arena did a good job letting you draft Aftermath cards in MOM so that it felt really cool and freshened it up. But that set honked.
Opening that set is probably one of my least favorite experiences of Magic. It's an awful opening experience.
Yeah, because you get like all the cards. It's like opening Fallen Empires all over again, and that sucked the first time. Yeah. Except one thing, I finally got my Kiora, the sea monster creature, which I've wanted since forever, and now I can finally build the deck I've been meaning to build for like 15 years, and will never actually build.
But I did I liked the idea. I don't think it was executed quite as well. And, obviously we being sandwiched in between March and the Machine and Lord of the Rings did not do it any favors.
Lord of the Rings, I loved. I really, really enjoyed, and I'm somehow a card in there. So I'm just going to take that win and move on with my life. I don't know.
That was awesome. When you posted that, I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Really, it's hard. Like, the artist is from Brazil, and she's like, I've never seen you before, and I haven't done this. And I'm like, that can't be true. Somebody sent you a
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you, because literally my wife and son think that looks like me. And they've seen my face more than any human alive. So, like,
I think you're wrong. I think you subconsciously saw me and put me into your card.
There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
Anyways. So before we call this a day, what do you do now, dude?
Yeah, so right now I work at Universes. I work at UVS Games, who makes the card game Universes, which is really cool. It's like kind of the whole idea is, Magic kind of like moonlights in Universes Beyond, where it's like, oh, we bring in other IPs and stuff like that. But like the whole thing with Universes is that it's meant to be this, what if scenario of, could this person beat this person? So you kind of build a deck based off of, kind of like Commander, but Commander is more like this person is the leader of your deck, but the cards inside of it only really share the color identity, whereas
Mm,
these decks are meant to represent almost a role play of that character. So you can do like Midoriya from My Hero Academia, and then Vash the Stampede from Trigun
I love
Stampede, and
Vash.
be like, who would win in a fight? And it's like you have your characters out at the whole time, and you build decks and attacks based off of one-on-one fighting for those characters. So I'm the senior marketing manager there, and I'm really excited because I got to work on some of the biggest things so far in the company. So like we just announced that we're doing Attack on Titan, Critical Role, Godzilla, My Hero Academia, uh, Cowboy Bebop, Trigun Stampede, like a bunch
Like
of
Critical
really,
Role,
really
like
cool
the
stuff.
guys who play D&D.
Yeah, Critical Role.
I okay,
Yeah,
maybe I'm just old. I don't understand why they're the most popular people in the universe,
they're
but
fun. Yeah. They're
fair,
just
I
a lot of
guess.
fun. I mean, I know some people have preferences to I think D20 is the other one that's like comparable.
Yeah,
But people like they're just really fun and really like
it's weird because
yeah.
I still just remember, like, I'm just from the era where playing D&D gets your it took us kicked in, and not
Yeah.
like where we get 20 million people watching us on Twitch to play
I mean,
D&D.
it's
Nobody was watching
yeah.
me playing D&D.
I mean, I think that's another reason why Critical Role is so popular, is they were kind of the first ones to like
Yeah.
really usher in the idea of watching someone play D&D. Like I think like them more than Wizards of the Coast like definitely helped make D&D what it is today. At least 5th edition, like
Yes.
it exploded after they became big on Twitch, whereas it was, still kind of the nerdiest you could possibly be in the nerdum space, basically prior to they were a thing. So now it's
Yeah,
like the cool
fair.
thing to do is to play D&D,
I know.
but
I
like,
mean, look, I love it. I celebrate. I'm still wearing my D&D shirt.
yeah.
I'm here for it, and I'm glad to know that all of the pain we went through was worth it, because now it's the most popular thing on the block.
For the future generations.
Yeah, dude, my kid gets to sit and play D&D and not worry about
Yeah.
somebody kicking his ass, and it's great. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's taking your pocket protector. It's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely
Anyways,
love D&D. I play D&D more than I play Magic, but yeah, so we announced those things, and so yeah, I work on making all of the big marketing campaigns and stuff like that for those sets. So you should be seeing a lot of really cool things. We just had basically our equivalent of like a debut video today for Trigun Stampede, and because I know your audience is Magic, so that's the closest analog. Is like we just had our like debut video. We called it Enhanced for Trigun Stampede and Cowboy Bebop. um
man,
you know
Bebop versus Trigun was like so many of my college debates in lunchtime between
yeah.
classes.
Yeah. So we
I'm a
in that
Trigun
video we
kid.
like go into like that's kind of one of the OG like who would win fights, when it comes to anime. Is like try
I do
is
not appreciate that classification of
that it's an
OG,
OG.
because like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun are still in my mind new anime.
They're from the 90s. Well, the Trigun Stampede technically is from last year, but like
Yeah,
original
but
Trigun is
Trigun.
like they're both from the 90s and early
Look, shut
2000s.
up, okay?
um that was also before anime was like cool, because that was like when
That
it
was
started
when
coming
I
over to
had to get.
Toonami and stuff.
That's when I had to get anime from Hong Kong, dubbed
Yeah.
3 times over on tapes, and sent to some shady dude in my anime club.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was yeah. But
People
yeah,
don't
so
understand. People don't
they don't,
understand what we
nope,
had to do for tapes in the day.
exactly. So that's what I
Anyways,
work on
man,
now. Yeah.
uh, it's really great to see you land on your feet, and I wish you the best of luck with this game and everything. I think it's super rad.
Thank you.
And I'm glad we got to talk. I love talking to
Yeah.
you. You're super cool. And
This is the longest we've actually been able to talk to each other without someone else talking to one of us.
Isn't it so weird? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I just really enjoy hanging out with you, and I hope we get a chance to do that at Chicago and MagicCons and other places going forward.
I will absolutely see you in Chicago.
Yeah. So if folks wanted to find you or your game or other things like that, where could they go?
Yeah, so the best and easiest place is you can find me on Twitter. I have a link tree on my bio there if you want to find me at any other places, but I spend most of my time either fortunately or unfortunately on Twitter. So that's where you can find me the most. And I will be posting. I still post a decent amount about Magic, but I would expect don't go into it expecting a bunch of Magic stuff.
Well, I mean, you run a different game now. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. And as always, you can find me at Gear Reporty Gears. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at Cool Stuff Inc. every Tuesday, or at YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor, Dan May. And you can also find me on Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic, or at the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast, or on Patreon at patreon.com/Shivam B. Thanks to my sponsors, Cool Stuff, Architect, and Quiver. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.